WCLN 1170 Radio and Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by J.W. Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on there. We're coming to you from Channel 16, Star Communications, WCLN Radio. Every Tuesday at 2:30, we have a new show with content and information that we hope is going to enrich your lives in some way or bring you some information that may help you, some people in your community, or folks around you. Today, we're always pleased to have somebody I'm sure you know, you've heard of. You might have been in some of her sessions. You might have even heard her do a presentation. And Becky Becky Spell Vann. I have to remember that because sometimes I'll get that mixed up and get it moved around. But Becky, I want to thank you for being with us. This has been one of those shows that's kind of a must thing that we do every year, and it's built around something you've been doing since 2008 called Rise Up.
Yes. And
Rise Up within itself, maybe you can give folks a little bit of information about how that title got there, and then we can kind of get into the meat of some of the content of these shows and why they have been so enriching and so important, especially to a society that seems to be driving itself apart.
Thank you, J.W. Well, in 2007, I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, with my sister and her niece for a revival in a four-story Coliseum, and it was packed. In fact, there was lines outside, and they had to have a room for people to go in. And I stood inside that Coliseum and watched the people worship, and there was a healing service, and I thought, this is so powerful. And in my heart, it resonated, do this in Clinton. Mm-hmm. So it took a year for us to pull it together and to think about it. And so we started, and we've been doing it now. This is, we're going into our 8th year, and we're very excited about it. And the word rise up came to me because I was on the bottom floor. My niece was in a wheelchair. And when I looked around at all the people, it was like, rise up and do this. Mm-hmm. Don't go home and do like many times we do where we have an idea or God stirs our heart and we become complacent. So I knew it was to be done. And we've never filled the building completely, but we've not stopped. We keep going because there are so many obligations, I find, and I'm sure you see that in our community and at other larger cities even, where there's so many things going on that people are overextended. But we are excited to offer a Saturday afternoon. We start at 1:30 this year on February 23rd, and we've got something lined up for the whole family.
This is an opportune moment, I think, this year to really kind of bring people together in a sense of connectivity. In fact, I've been talking to folks recently, and just not only an observation, but personal comments from people. They're very concerned about how polarized our society is, how people seem to be so much involved in one particular subject that they will not even listen to anybody else. So I look at what you've been doing over the years, and particularly this year. I think about that. I think about the piece of it, this whole idea of conflict and prevention and resolution comes to mind. Rotary, a theme of Rotary recently, Rotary Club, International Club, talks about the idea of peace fellas, and it talks about presenting programs about peace, conflict prevention, resolution. Mm-hmm. Is that part of what you're doing as well?
Yes. When you mentioned Rotary, I was thinking about a motto from the Baptist men many years ago when Promise Keepers was such a big thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that what's happened in our society is that we want to keep our promises and we don't want to be polarized, but we get caught up in the system and in everyday living. And sometimes we don't really rise up and go forth with faith like we should. And that's what I've seen happening at Tim's Gift over the last 10 years, J.W. My son Cameron worked with us one year in 2009 to help us with our 501c3. And as he was there, he said, Mom, I see Tim's Gift being a part, not an entity, a separate entity, like you said, polarized. Mm-hmm. But in our community, we need to work together with other nonprofits. He said our hospices, we need to find other places that have the same, really we're all doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. We're helping people and sharing the love of Jesus. And we tried that year. He wrote letters, we visited, but many times we're territorial. And I find that somebody's got to know that they can trust what you're doing. But what we're seeing now, it's taken, since that in 2009, the last 5 or 6 years, we've been writing letters. We talk with the hospice leaders here, with the Salemburg Food Bank, with the churches. We now have 7 churches that are donating quarterly to help us. And the hospice groups, we work together. The Samson Partners, we work together with them. And in fact, just this morning, a recliner came in, a nice recliner, and we didn't have room for it. So we called Samson Partners, and the gentleman was over there within 30 minutes. They needed the furniture, they need things. And then when they get in medical supplies, they bring them to us. So I'm seeing in our community, JW, some of that polarization is dissolving. Because I believe there are enough people who have seen that they want us to keep that hometown, that Christian ethic, and that atmosphere of love. And it's here. It really is.
You mentioned Samson Partners. Of course, we had Paul Weiser, Dr. Weiser, on a while back and talked about what they're doing. And one of his comments reminded me a little bit of what you said. He said he just simply couldn't walk away from that. There was an opportunity there. And he wanted to make sure that not only did it come to fruition, but the future potential and the total potential that was expanded. At the same time, I had Pastor David Cheston on with Open Door Ministries, and he talked about what he was doing on a kind of what is a large and small scale at a little place in Delaware, North Carolina. At the same time, I was also involved with the children's home up at Godwin, and some of the just unbelievable heart-wrenching things that's happening there. There is a lot of this going on, Becky. How do we somehow connect it? How do we somehow bring it together, not in a sense of ownership or somebody else doing the same thing, but in a sense of empowering it all? It's like the system is there, but somehow we're missing the plug. Right.
Well, I think many people do not want to share, to rise up and get the word out, or to actually do something. We find that in our churches, in civic organizations. They will be glad to be on a committee, but not a chairman. Many people don't want the leadership role, and someone has to be a leader, like David was. Look at what David did in the Bible when he got his men excited. But when David was down and he was not rising up, nothing was happening. So we have to have leaders, but then we have to have supporters, volunteers, and people in this town really want to help. We've got a list of amazing volunteers who are going to be out there on that Saturday. But I think we have to make a move. We have to stand up and say, if nobody else is going to do it, why can we sit around and complain if we're not willing to stand up? Especially when God gives us all the gifts we need. And many of them are wasted. But I think a lot of people just want to see that it's the real thing. There's so much deception, and there have been so many untruths within our society that people don't always know if it's the real thing. And I think when they see that they come on board. And I'm seeing camaraderie like we've never seen before over there, not only with groups and other nonprofits. I know that Terry was just asking now, Terry and Norman at the food bank, they're going to do another building and remodel it because they're expanding. And they've asked for help there. And so what we found is that when we plant seeds and help others, it comes back. That spirit of giving. And I think that is what will erase these lines of polarization and apathy. And, you know, don't bother me. I'll write a little check, but I don't want to get my hands dirty. We need to be the hands and feet of Jesus. We need to get excited about what we're doing.
Is it important to look at, one of the things that you often hear is folks make the statement, well, I don't know whether to give money to that organization. I don't know what the outcomes are going to be. It's not just that you're trying to nurture somebody to stay at the same place in life. The idea of rise up means to rise up and make something happen. Individually. So expand that a little bit. I think people sometimes get confused when they think, well, they're just out there to keep people that are in a certain place that maybe don't have anything, and we're just going to feed them so they just sit there and be fed. That's not what it's about.
No, it's a full afternoon, and we have registration at 1:30 for youth. anyone is welcome, youth age. That's from 6th grade up. And we have they will rotate from groups. We have a slate of events. They'll be visiting we'll have a prayer walk through town, visiting the fire department and the police station and the sheriff's department to pray with them and to pray with local businesses. We'll be going to the rest home with a praise team. We have 4 exciting stations. We're doing home and foreign missions this year. I love home missions. But in 2007, I went to Belize for 2 weeks, and there's also a love for foreign missions. So we have a lady in our community, Miss Julie Bannister. She and her family, 7 children, her husband moved here last year from Atlanta. They bought a farm out near Turkey. She has a ministry called Stitches from the Heart. She takes old blue jeans and T-shirts and makes shirts, skirts, and dresses, and has sent them to over 38 foreign countries. She's going to be at Rise Up, and we'll have 2 rotations. One will be tie-dyeing. Tim's Gift bought 500 white T-shirts for her ministry. Another lady was at prayer that morning and is paying for the shipping. At Rise Up, they will tie-dye these and have a heart in them, and these will be mailed to the Atlanta Children's Cancer Center. All the children there will receive a T-shirt. Her other rotation will be, she'll have her sewing machines, and Margot and Ellery Montgomery's Bowker's daughter is going to be working with us, sewing. They'll be making dresses there. So if anybody has old blue jeans that they were going to throw away or give away, if they bring those, we'll be using those. The children will actually be taking part. And those dresses that are made there will be sent to Sierra Leone. We'll have a home mission and foreign mission blessing station where we'll be making 200 blessing bags. 50 of those will go to Sierra Leone, and the other will be here in Clinton.
We're going to take our first break,
okay,
and we'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with Becky Spell. We're talking about a variety of issues, particularly about the Rise Up event this year, but other aspects of the community, how you can come together and be part of something much greater than yourself or the things around you.
Experiencing slow internet? If you have a fast internet package, the problem is most likely your wireless router. With more devices using Wi-Fi, your wireless router may not be able to deliver the speed and coverage you need. We now have the leading solution to enhance your internet experience. Using small devices in a mesh network, these Wi-Fi appliances cover just about any size home so that all your devices can operate to their fullest potential. Whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Get the most out of your internet connection.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you for being with us. I want to give you the email address again so you can continue to send those emails to us. Comments about shows we've had that you've watched or heard. Recommendations on shows we need to do in the future. I definitely thank you for that. The email address is weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. We'll try to get back to you as soon as we can. Sometimes we will miss something or one will slide by, so don't hesitate in emailing us again in case we missed it. Also, I want to thank you for your comments, particularly on shows that we've recently done. Sometimes I'm asked, can we repeat those? And certainly we're more than happy to do that. Today we're talking with Becky Spell Vann.
Right.
Did I get that right?
You did.
So, have to put all the words in the right order. Becky, we're talking about some things that you got involved in with Tim's Gift, which was Tim that passed away, your husband, with the unfortunate situation of cancer. But it left here a plant that's been growing called Tim's Gift for years now, and it's created a connectivity that a lot of people hadn't experienced like you have, because you've kind of sat in the vortex of that. And it's been small things, it's been large things. You've been able to see things that that you probably would have never imagined, but you've helped people in places that maybe it doesn't seem important to a large population, but to that person, it was literally life or death.
Right. We feel very humbled, and I give God all the glory, JW. But the beautiful thing about this is anybody can help. We operate solely on donations. We don't do the grants, and because many times when you get grant money, then you have guidelines or restrictions, and we pray with everybody that comes through those doors. That's an important, that comes first and foremost to me. And we help people financially with medical bills and with other things that come from medical situations. But we also give out medical supplies and equipment, and this is where a lot of local people get involved, because that's the reason it started. When Tim's Gift started, our house was full of equipment. Nobody wanted it. The insurance company didn't want it back. You can't sell it. You hate to throw it away. So God just put on my heart that there would be a time that as a nation that we would appreciate leftovers and that we would save things and not throw everything away and just go out and buy new. And I didn't understand that, but now I do. And I have found that it's a very healing place for people. Just this morning, a lady came in whose daughter was on a trach, and she has been very sick, and she is doing better, and her bedroom was full of medical supplies. And the mother said, we are so excited about her healing. We don't want to see those things anymore. So they came and donated it, and we've already got people in line. So people can donate wheelchairs, walkers, medical supplies, or anything they have that they don't need anymore. And the beautiful thing is now that word has got out, when people hear about it, they will tell someone, well, don't just take that to the dump or throw it away. Take it to Tim's Gift. It'll go out and help people, because these supplies are expensive.
Absolutely, and they're expensive, and oftentimes doctors and medical folks will not only recommend, but they'll say you must have this, and sometimes people don't have the funds, even though maybe Medicare will cover it, but might not have Medicare. Medicaid might not cover it. So they can call you for two reasons. One, if they got something they need to move out, get it out of their house, or number two, if they literally are in need of a walker, or maybe it's something as simple as, I don't know, a cane.
Yes, we have them.
All of that is, and I think when we're talking about this, I can't reinforce it enough to say, you know, don't stop, just call and ask, because even if you don't have it, I've heard you say, give us a little while and we might be able to find that for you somewhere.
That's exactly right. A beautiful story with Hurricane Florence, just one of the many. We helped over 35 families, but one family came into Clinton. They'd lost their house. They live in Warsaw, and her husband was a really severe diabetic, and they were staying in just a makeshift place, and he did not have a lift chair anymore, and he was extremely heavy, and he could not get up without the help of his lift chair. So that morning his wife said, we're going to go to Clinton and get you a pedicure, because his feet were really in bad shape. So they came here to a local salon and went in. And Dwight Horn's wife, Luann, happened to be in there and heard the lady telling about her story. The lady came to Tim's Gift and she said, ma'am, I'm here because of a lady in Clinton named Lou who paid for my husband's pedicure. And when I started to leave, I went to thank her, and she said, go right down the road and stop at Tim's Gift. I think they can help you. Within 30 minutes after she came in, all our lift chairs were out. We called Jim at Matthews, and we have a cap. We have a limit on what we can do at one time. That lift chair, within 30 minutes, they had driven down to Matthews and signed papers, and we helped. Jim helped us, of course, by giving us a good price, because he knew where it was going. But they had a brand new lift chair. We get a card from her at least once a month, and she said, my husband can now get up and down. Thank you so much. And see, it's not just us. It's just being in a place where people know that they can come. It's like a lighthouse. It brings people in and it sends out help. So we're excited because it's helping the community, and we get the joy of seeing it.
One of the things I think we're seeing more in our society, and particularly in this part of the state, seem like, as I recall, I don't recall seeing, I don't know whether somebody's got statistics on it. I'm sure I'll probably get some emails or calls about this, but I see a lot of folks that are just literally homeless. Yes. They don't have anywhere to live. And I wanted to kind of toss that out to you and see if you're experiencing that, and how, what do you recommend to people, and how do you work with them to get help?
I would recommend, first of all, this Friday night there's a wonderful event here with UCare, the reverse drawing, and that's a good way to help, because they help a lot of people. We send people there who come in. We average, I would say, 2 to 3 people a week that stop by that are labeled homeless.
Have nowhere to stay?
Have nowhere to stay, and many people are in transition here, and they just need a place to stay for a night or two. And there's absolutely nowhere to send them, because the men don't fit in. They can't go to UCare. But there's a real need for that.
We don't have a homeless
shelter. No. We recommend that they go to, there's one in Smithfield, And in Fayetteville, there's something. But that's a great need that we're praying about. And I think it's such a cumbersome task because that can't be a sole entity. That's got to be a community effort. But it's possible, and it is needed.
It's huge, and I think the reality of that, it brings to mind the churches. And you work with churches as much as anybody, probably more than anybody I know, on a collective basis. So you have in your mind a collective of what churches can do. That is, churches that come together and say, we want to make sure Rise Up happens this year. And how do you energize these churches to get involved? I mean, do you have to do it individually, each church? I mean, obviously it goes beyond just a flyer.
It's difficult. It is difficult. We sent 150 letters out the last week of October, and we challenged the youth pastors and the churches. We had replies from 2 churches. Mount Gilead was the first. Their youth pastor replied. We had 2 replies. We have flyers that we've done. Last week, we actually did a telephone call. There are 3 of us there now. Jennifer Brewer and Diane Lowe worked with me. And we went through and got the numbers for all the local churches. We're now on our 60th. We've called the churches, and do you know many of the people when they answer said, well, we've not even heard about it. I don't know if the letters get stuck on a desk and don't get opened. People are overextended, and I understand that, but communication is very important, and it's hard. We are tweeting some. I'm working on it. We text. We send out emails, but what we find is that a lot of people don't open the emails and read them. So it's overwhelming, though. You miss your emails a day or 2. You know what that is. So we constantly search. We use Facebook a lot because we find that when people see it on Facebook, they'll share it.
And I think that's the piece of this operation that you understand better than anybody is that you got to be able to connect with other folks. You got to let them know that this is for them. Not just because they haven't been, but it's for them because it's part of what this life is that we deal with. This thing that it seems to be continuing to conflict. We've done some stuff, and of course there's an event coming up the 27th dealing with the opioid epidemic that continues to go on, this crisis in our communities. And in talking with some of those folks, it's almost like they deal with a shame situation and dealing with addiction issues. And nobody don't want to touch it. They don't want to be part of it.
Well, we have a group that meets at Tim's Gift the 1st and 3rd Tuesday night. It's called Living Free from Addictions. But last week at our meeting, we decided to change the name because it's not just living free from addictions, not just one, but it could be any addiction. And we're working on that to include more people, so others. And then we have a grief ministry, the alternate Tuesday nights. Edith Williams is leading that, and we are helping parents who have lost a child or a spouse or someone close in their family. So we're trying to do our part, but the important thing is that we keep encouraging one another.
I'm often asked in organizations like yours and others, people still ask, how can you be sure that person really needs help, or are they just chumming you for money or whatever? I know you never ask that question by any means, but that's a real thing that oftentimes comes up in conversations at churches. Folks go, well, wonder if that person's really real, and we see all these cases of fraud and all this kind of thing going on. So you have to get beyond that and just trust, don't you? You
do. You have to trust, and you have to have the discernment. And I thank God for that gift. And we don't get it right every time. We've had some, but He brings it back. We have, before Christmas, we helped a lady, and I knew in my heart that it was not right, but she came back 3 times that same day and brought her little children and sat them beside her. And so we did help her, a substantial help also. And do you know that a week later, a lady came back who is in the community where she lives and said she did not need that help. It was used for something else. But I talked to her and told her, you've helped my family, and she better not come back to Tim's Gift if it's not a real need. I'm finding now that the community's supporting.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to take our second break.
Okay.
We'll be back in just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about things that are happening in the community to help bring the community together. We're talking about an event named Rise Up. We're talking about Tim's Gift, and we're talking with Becky.
You come out to replace a bad sensor, and that adds a 5-year commitment to my contract, and you don't tell me? Here's your sign.
Switch to the sign that's keeping homes secure and customers happy all over the area. Security from Star Communications. We pride ourselves on fair pricing and quick, friendly service every time.
Somebody trying to break into this place?
Security from Star Communications.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know It's on the air. It's Tuesday, as you know, at 2:30. And we have a show on the channel that you're looking at. If you're watching us on TV, it's channel 16. If you're not, call a friend and tell them it's Star Communications. It's got a channel called 16, and every week at 2:30, they can see We Should Know and see the guests we have. If not, you're probably hearing on WCLN Radio, 1170 AM out of Clinton, North Carolina. We try to talk about subjects that are impacting not only in this area, not only in Clinton, but the surrounding area, to include a lot of our listeners and viewers in Bladen County, Pender County, parts of Cumberland County, over in Wayne County. We've had some listeners up in Wake County as well, Johnston County. We thank you for all your comments, suggestions, and commentary, things that you add to this show. And believe me or not, if you get out there and you send us a message, we're constantly working to see how we can cycle that into the queue for this show. So we appreciate that comment. And today's show is probably one of the most, I guess, not only credible but timely shows, and it's building. Becky, we've been building this show around Tim's gift, around what you're doing with this annual event called Rise Up, but it brings to question. Really, you're bringing people together for a reason that is beyond sometimes their own understanding.
Mm-hmm. And it's not. This event is designed. You can come and go. It's not that you have to come at 1:30 in the afternoon and stay till it's over.
You can walk through if you want to.
You can walk through, you can come. But the youth will be doing 2 hours of community home missions. Mm-hmm. They'll be involved in things. And then from 4 to 5, we have a free meal for anybody. At 5, the service will start. We'll be giving a Good Samaritan Award, a trophy. Last year, Jim Matthews was the recipient. We're real excited about the person who will receive it this year. We have an Encourager Award, and a youth group from one of the churches that will be chosen, and they will get a trophy to take home and keep for the year. Actually, your church will be bringing it back. They won that trophy last year to keep it for a year as being the outstanding youth group. And we have the Vine Fellowship. Their praise team will be there. Kristen and Justin Spell will be doing some praise songs. And then we have Reverend Russ Emanuel from Olive Grove who's going to be delivering the message. Angelique Jacobs, who went through cancer several years ago, Angelique Jacobs Young, will be there. She does HQ Cheer. It's amazing. And she was healed from cancer, so she will be there to work with the young people as they rotate. And we're just excited about the afternoon and then the session that ends it. So we'd like to invite everyone to come. It's free. You can come just that night at 5 and be there for the session. And I'd like to thank the sponsors who have made this possible. We have many community sponsors, and throughout the community, these flyers are up and people can see, and we've sent them to the churches. So we hope that they will include them in their bulletins.
And I would highlight one of those gold sponsors, Star Communications. I want to give accolades to all these folks down here that I see occasionally, and help make sure this show is on the TV side. So when I think about that, and I look at these people that you got both platinum and gold sponsors, and I look at these names, these are people that make this community what it is.
Yes.
I mean, they're probably the most cohesive part of that community. And feel free, of any of those you want to read off, I'm more than happy for you to do that. Some of them are sponsors of our show. So
yes, I'd like to shout out to Group Benefit and Commercial Services, to Jart Hudson Farms, Matthews Drugs, Pearson Crop Insurance, Salem Pizza, and Smith Enterprise. They are our platinum sponsors. The gold sponsors include Clinton Truck and Tractor, Daughtry, Woodard, Lawrence, and Starling Law Firm, Hogslat, Nissan of Clinton, Shady Branch Farms, and Star Communications. And then this year we have some new ones on with silver, the Big Chill Radio.com. We have BJ Williamson Gas, David Hobson Law Firm, U.S. Foods, and Clinton Pharmacy. They didn't get theirs in, that we just got that, so we didn't get it on our bulletin. But we're excited because these people and businesses and individuals help make it possible to do these events.
And again, I think I'm correct on this. Joey Warren's got a little bit of something to do with the Big Chill Radio.
Yes, he does.
Joey does a great job in the
Yes.
community, and a lot of people don't realize the number of folks that he reaches through his internet-connected radio system there. It's huge.
He's very involved. And
yeah.
I'd like to say my son Cameron actually does a Monday night show.
Wonderful.
Every Monday night with Joey. And Joey is paying it forward.
Mm-hmm.
He has supported Tim's Gift in so many ways in the last few months. They had a big open house, and the food that he had left over, the snacks and things he donated that we included in bags for Hurricane Florence. He has also given Piggly Wiggly of Mount Olive and Warsaw gave food cards for them to use, and they had 10 left over from their event. So he brought them, and he said we would know better the families that got them. And when the government shut down last month, a lot of families were in need. So those cards went out to help a lot of people. So that's the kind of thing people can do. If they don't know where a true needy family is, believe me, they come to Tim's Gift.
Do you ever get in a situation, you talked a little bit earlier about items that you collect that folks will give you, whether it's walkers or what have you. Do you ever get in that situation where you don't have storage, you need more storage capacities? And I'm thinking in terms of what Paul Weiser and others doing now. The connectivity of that with them has got to be a huge benefit for you.
It is. I have to give a shout out right now to Greg Thornton. Greg came by Tim's Gift 5 years ago, 3 or 4 times, and he said, if there's ever anything you need, I'm here. He said, I won't bother you, but I will help you. Our storage is full. We have 3 places there on site, and at one time, Owen Furniture let us use a place there, but it's so far away to leave and go get equipment.
Yeah.
So we need it close by. So this morning, I went out to the warehouse, and Joey is giving us a corner to store it in, because the beautiful thing is, not only do we sometimes not have room and we run out of things, especially rollators, we have a huge supply of walkers, and we've had several hospital beds we've not been able to give out because of insurance. So last fall, there's a gentleman in town who said he would pay the freight for medical equipment to go to the Dominican Republic because they had such distraught times from the hurricane. So I don't remember the pounds now, but it was shipped out in September, and we included tons of equipment that we had a surplus of. We are right now collecting again because we get lots of walkers that come in. So the thing is now Tim's Gift has expanded, and it's going even into foreign missions. It all went to a rest home, and it was by one man who had the foresight to know how to ship it there and get it there, who works here in Clinton. So it is amazing some of the things that are happening that people might not know. And we welcome people to stop by. Every Tuesday we have prayer at 7 to 8, but it's really all day because we've started now the lunch prayer from 12 to 1. Anybody can come by, bring a sandwich, and sit down, and we have a wonderful time of prayer. We've got books filled since 2008 when we started prayer on Tuesday morning. You can go back and we can look in our books to people we prayed for 10 years ago. Our prayer is a very important part of Tim's Gift, JW.
This is not only exciting news for people maybe that's hearing some of these things for the first time, but also a resource that people can use in case they do. And I keep hearing you say walkers, and I think a lot of that may come in as a result of knee replacements and that kind of thing. And folks that get that done, they turn it over, and it might not be that it's a problem for them, but for somebody else, they may not be. They just don't have the assets to do it.
We have people now that come by who have doctor appointments here in Clinton, but they don't need a wheelchair full time, but they can't get into their appointment. So they will come by and check out a wheelchair, go to the doctor, come back by, check it back in. And they don't have to worry with having one in their vehicle or whatever. We're finding that's very exciting.
Tell us about somebody by the name of Kristen Burnett that had an impact on you and apparently something that deserves a few moments of commentary on. And we might not be able to get through the total message on that because we're going to take a break in about 2 minutes.
Well, I'll make it short.
No, you don't make it short. We'll pick it up. So.
She lives in Kansas City, Missouri, actually in Grain Valley, which is a suburb of Kansas City. And 5 years ago, she was told that her heart would no longer function, and she had just a very short time to live. She's had heart problems since she was a little girl. She did not accept what those doctors said. She rose up and her mother drove her up to Wyoming to the Mayo Clinic. She went in and had a doctor's appointment there, met with them and said, I need a transplant and it's the only way I will live. She stayed there a year and a half. It took several months before a heart was available, but she did get a heart transplant and had 11 months of recovery. Now, you know you don't stay in the hospital 11 months. She went in a Down center where the community supported there, and they would go in and help her. They helped her in her recovery. And she said while she was recovering, she promised God that she was going to do something with her life to help people when she got out. She works with a company that she travels in all 48 states. She decided to choose a nonprofit in each state and support them. 2 years ago, Jennifer got a phone call one March morning, and it was a girl named Kristen Burnett. She said, I am choosing a nonprofit from North Carolina, and I've been scrolling through all the nonprofits that help people, and Tim's Gift popped up, and I really like what I read. Can you tell me more about it? Jennifer was talking to her, and she said, well, what do you need? She said, well, Joe and Nancy Butler, we need large briefs for him. We're about out of those, and we need cards for our card ministry. Jennifer was naming off things, JW. Well, I thought, she told me about the phone call, and I thought, what is this? Is it a scam? Yeah. 2 weeks later, we got a huge parcel. UPS came in with all kinds of supplies, cards. It started a friendship. She has visited us 3 times. She came and stayed with us at Topsail, actually the week before Florence came for a few days. And she is a very close and strong supporter of Tim's Gift now.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Wow. And these are the kinds of things that oftentimes I look at, and I know you and I have talked in the past, are like godsends.
Yes.
There's a connection there, and folks that maybe don't understand it, sometimes things are put together by forces that we will never understand, I guess, until we get to that point that we meet God. We're going to take our last break,
okay,
and we'll come back and kind of get a summation of what we talked about and try to bring together a couple little ideas at the last.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming up on our last break. We want to thank you for being with us. We want to ask you, if you will, to call a friend. We're talking with Becky Spell, and we look forward to the rest of the show. So one more break.
To get the most out of your electronic devices, you need a strong internet connection and a protected home Wi-Fi network. You need high-speed internet from Star. Star has the fastest, most affordable high-speed internet service available for all your devices. We have no long-term contracts or high-pressure sales. Our service speaks for itself, and switching is hassle-free. We take care of everything with free installation from a local company. High-speed internet from Star. Internet at the speed of life.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you for being with us. Coming up on our last segment today with Becky Spell Vann. Did I get that right? I think I got it right this time. Becky Spell Vann, and for lack of a better observation, as we went to break, and I kind of got to kind of remembering a little bit about things we've talked about in the past and what we're doing here today. We're almost kind of like preaching to people to some degree, but the reality is what you are expressing and you're uncovering here are things that you have been led to do. Yes. That things that doors have been opened for you to do, and as you just were pointing out with Kristen Burnett, she was something that literally was just laid in front of you. It was like all of a sudden there it is on your windshield, and how did you get there? Well, did you ever figure out, other than the fact she was just scrolling down through?
No, she actually scrolled. That's how she's done Vermont, New Hampshire. She's done 5 other states. And now she's on her, I think she said the last one she chose to use is Washington State, and she's helping an animal society that helps animals who have been abused. So she's an amazing young woman, but she said, I'm doing this because I made God a promise. He sent me a heart, and I promised him I would work for him through my job, through traveling. And that's the way Tim's Gift started. When Tim was sick, I made God a promise. I asked for his best healing, and I promised God I'd give him my best. And he gave that. Heaven is his best healing. And I didn't know what it was, JW. I didn't understand. But God doesn't give us the whole picture. It's piece by piece. So for the last decade, I've watched God do amazing things. Kristen's one of those miracles. Jennifer's another one of those miracles. The young girl that works with us that does our emails and amazing things is blind. How do you even comprehend that she could come
I remember
to
having her on before.
Yes.
I think you and her came on
She
right after
did.
she started there.
She's amazing.
And the story of her coming there was just kind of interesting as well.
Yes. And so I see God's handiwork in it. I know he's in it. And I know, JW, that it will go on. And that's the beautiful thing about it, because it's not about me, but it is about keeping a promise. And I knew so many times we will promise God things, and then when we get well or when things are going good again with our job, we kind of forget about it. But I knew I couldn't. I promised him that as long as I lived, I would encourage people to cherish their loved ones and the Lord, because that's so important. And that is why we've got polarization. That is why there's hatred. That is why we're living in a country where God is not first, because we've allowed it to happen. And if we all would rise up and share the love of our Lord and love one another, His greatest commandment, we wouldn't have all this bad news.
Yeah. I paraphrase a quote, I think it was Franklin Graham that said that this country is in a bad situation, and the only person that can fix it is God.
Amen.
And I thought that pretty much summed up not only that, everything we're talking about. I think the next thing I wanted to just ask you as a question is that, you know, and we all know, listeners and viewers, that there's always a beginning, there's a middle part, and then there's a future part. When you look at Tim's gift and all these things that you have accomplished to this point, everything from Rise Up to where Tim's gift may be going, talk to us about where you see the future of Tim's gift. I'm often asked that question about some things that I'm involved in, and I'm going, I really don't know. So I'm going to leverage that. It's kind of one of those misty questions, but where do you see that going? Because, you know, this thing has been going on now for quite a few years. And if you just take where the years you've been and add them on to the front, that's way on down the road. I don't know where any of me and you particularly might end up, but where do you see it going? I know you've got a thought about that before.
I think about it and pray about it a lot, JW, because I'm not a young chicken. You know, we're getting older.
Yeah.
But it's so exciting. I've never been happier, even though there have been a lot of heartaches. I honestly have never been happier and more excited to get up and go to work, and because it's not work. And I don't say that boastfully, but I don't take a paycheck, because to me it's not about that. My paycheck there comes from seeing the people come in that we're able to help, and the people that come in to help us. But I do believe that it will grow and expand. We're already seeing it with our night meetings that are going on. But I'm very careful not to get ahead of God. But I see the Learning Station being a big part of that. We've been there now for 31 years. We're going into our 31st year in March. And God has used those children in amazing ways. Cameron actually said that in '09 when he worked there. He thought the children would be part of it. And he wrote a paper about Tim's gift. And he said that he believed that there would be one in every state. And I believe that. And I may not see that, but I know that it will go on.
Well, tell us a little bit. I want to back up now, because there might be somebody listening, and you said Learning Station. They might be thinking, well, what are we talking about? Back up and refresh, hit the refresh button on Learning Station. So for those folks that may be listening, and let them know what it is.
Well, you know, we're right there on 701, and Tim bought the building where we are now with Tim's gift. And he was there, but the building became available beside it, and we wanted to be there as a family to kind of raise our boys. So I bought the building beside it, we did, and started an after-school care and a summer care. And for 30 years we've been there, and it's been amazing. It's been such a fruitful, honestly, it's a ministry. And we call our children now the Sunshine Kids. They go out and visit in the rest homes. They visit people that are shut in and just share joy around town. And that all started when I was trying with our first years when we opened. You know, we don't know what to do. We don't know what our business is going to be. And I thought I had to take those children everywhere. In fact, I did an out-of-state field trip.
That's labor intensive.
Oh, yes. We went to Washington, D.C.
Wow.
And we had, our ratio was 2 students to 1 adult. So I thought we were fine. But at the night monuments, one of our students was missing for 1 hour. And I finally found him down at the Vietnam Monument. JW, I've never in my life been so terrified. And I made God a promise right there that I would not leave Sampson County on a field trip again, and I've not. And that was in 1995.
That was a crisis moment.
That was a crisis moment. But when we found him, I made God that promise, and I said, but God, what can I do within Sampson County? And He gave me the same thing He did about this Rise Up conference. Because you see, many people have said, you've got to hire speakers from out of town, big names, and you know, people aren't going to come just to hear hometown folks. They said the same thing about Jesus. But God put on my heart, we have much talent here in this Sampson County and Clinton, and that hometown people that's what he wanted, and that's what we've stuck to, because I believe God speaks to us, and I believe we need to take heed to what he says to our hearts. So I don't know what Tim's gift will be, but I do believe the learning station, we need more room, and I don't know how God's planning to do that, but I feel it in my heart. Again, he gives it a piece at a time. So I just ask for the prayers of all the people that are listening to this, that God will guide me, and Diane Love and Jennifer Brewer as we do work there at Tim's Gift.
One of the things that strikes me, especially with children, since you mentioned that, is that oftentimes I'll do a show with the folks from DSS, and we'll talk about foster care, and we'll talk about some of these very, it's heartbreaking, heart-wrenching things with children. How do you get involved with any of that? Is there things that oftentimes you're called on that maybe there's something that just says, I got to do this one way or the other? Especially with children. I don't, for some reason that just touches everybody's heart very quickly.
Yes. Well, and I would like to share some particulars, but because of confidentiality.
Sure.
But I know last spring we had an aunt who came to us with 3 children that her daughter was not in a place to be able to keep those children. And we took those children in, and they came, and they were a part of our learning station family, and it wound up blessing us greater than it blessed this aunt. So yes, we are a part of that, and we do see people that really need help, and they come, and we're excited to be able to help them. But that's a need. A lot of children are in places where they don't know what to do, and parents don't know where to go. Many cannot afford child care.
This has been a mission for you over the years, and again, as I look at this, and I look at the continuity of it, and I look at the future of it, it's just something that must continue. So maybe we need to put the word out there that if somebody's out there in their 20s or 30s and wants to really take charge of something that's, to your point, meaningful in your life.
Right. Well, I believe God has the plans. I just think it's a different plan. And Sharon Owen and Brianna Reeves also helped me at Tim's Gift in the learning station. And that's something I asked God for, because a few years ago I was ready, honestly, to close down the learning station. Word got out. And a young man who had 4 children there, I shared it with him one morning at his church over at the Journey. And Dennis looked at me and said, Miss Becky, you can't do that. He said, I want you to keep it open. My children love it. And he handed me a little pamphlet. He was at the library there in the Journey, and he handed me a pamphlet that said, God's deal. He said, this is God's deal. And I put that on my prayer wall at home, and I said, okay, God, if you want me to continue, please give me health and help. And JW, he's supplying. And as long as he supplies our needs and gives us the ability, I think that we should serve him, because so many people who live for retirement and then they quit or they're not doing anything, they find that they're not fulfilled.
Yeah.
So,
and they wither away a lot of times.
Many times it happens. So I'm excited about what's going on, and we're excited about Rise Up, Rejoice, and we would just invite anyone to come out and be a part of it.
And that's going to be the 23rd right here at the Civic Center, or known as the Agro Exhibition Center in Clinton, for folks that want to come out. The schedule says youth at 1:30, is that correct?
That's right.
And the interesting thing is you get these kids together, and I think that's amazing within itself. You get them to go to rest homes and do all this stuff, and sometimes I'm thinking that within itself has got to be a miracle.
It is. It's exciting.
Absolutely. Well, I want to give you about a minute to wrap up here at the last. We're coming up on the last of the shows. Things go fast when you're here always. So anything you want to touch on that we missed?
I'm just very humbled to have this opportunity, JW, and I want to thank you for what you do, not only for Tim's Gift to let us get the good news out, but for all the other guests that you have on. This is an amazing show, and for all the crew and the people who help make it happen. This doesn't just happen. It takes work and preparation and a lot of prayer. So I want to shout out a thank you to you and the STAR team, and also just to the people in our community, because it's easy to accent the negative, but we've got many great things about this community. We've got strong Christian leadership, an amazing mayor and crew of leaders. So I'm just thankful to live here. Our pastor gives us, every year we get the new ones. It's a little sticker that goes on our car, Pastor Ray down at First Baptist, and it says, I love where I live. And that's what I hope we can all embrace.
I want to thank you for being with us today, and as always, you have a seat at the table anytime. This is a show that we try to bring information to the community, and this is a blessing for you being here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us today. We look forward to seeing you again next week at 2:30 on Tuesday, each and every Tuesday. call us, and remember, always call a friend, tell them to tune in, and we'll see you next Tuesday at 2:30. May God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.